Okay, so first of all, what I want to talk about is what holds us back from being successful on social media. There are lots of things in this industry that we tend to get really, really wrong, and we see people doing these things all of the time. I want to help you understand what those things are so you can recognize them in yourselves and in your teams. So a few things to have a little bit of a look at first, and I want to ask you this question. Because when we use social media, there are often things that we feel really uncomfortable about that stop us from doing the things we should be doing. And what I find particularly in this industry, because it's a very unique industry, there are some things that we tend to get a little bit uncomfortable about. So I just want to ask, are you all willing to be a little bit honest with me today and interact? Can we make this two-way today?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, I don't like it when it's all one way, so I want you to participate today too. I was also told you all have a good sense of humour, is that right? Okay, good, because I also, good. I like to have a laugh, and I don't like it when I get an audience that doesn't laugh back. It's really awkward. So let's have some fun together today. Now, I want you to be really honest with each other and with myself now. As I go through these, and I'm going to share with you 4 different things that tend to get in our way. And I want you to pop your hand up if you have experienced or are currently experiencing any of these. Is that okay? All right, the first reason that a lot of people feel uncomfortable using social media is because they're afraid of pestering and hounding family and friends. So if you've ever felt that, I want you to pop your hand up and leave it up in the air. Now this one is that fear of, I feel like I don't know anyone outside of my existing family and friends, and I don't know how to find new people, and I don't want to hound them. So I'm not sure how to use social media so that they feel like I'm not in their face all the time. So if that's you, hands up, and leave your hand up for a moment. The next one, and next reason that people are frustrated with social media is because they feel like they're wasting their time and getting no results. So if you felt that, again, pop your hand up in the air nice and high so everyone can see it. So this one is that I do everything I think I'm meant to do and it's just not working. This one here is a really big one. It's that fear of, what if I get it wrong? Or the fear of, I'm watching other people that are doing really, really well out there and I feel like I'm not like that. Or I don't look that good on a camera, or I don't know how to take a good photo, or I don't know what to say, and I'm afraid that I'm not showing up like maybe an influencer out there that I might be looking at. And so we do one of 2 things. We either do nothing at all when we feel that sense of comparison, or we start behaving more like somebody else and less like us because we think, I have to be more like that person and less like me to be successful on social media. This goes for all platforms, by the way, not just Facebook. So a few people I saw nodding and popping hands up. The last one is this. This is one of the main reasons that people are not successful at any social media at all. And this is the sense of overwhelm. I don't know where I should be, what I should do, when I should do it. There's so much information and it's constantly changing and I don't know where to start. And so there's that sense of overwhelm. So if you've felt any of these 4 things right now, I'd just like you to pop your hand nice and high in the air so I can see it and everyone else can see it. If any of those 4 things, I saw a lot of people nodding, so just hands up. Now I want you to look around and see the other hands in the air. Because what I would say is, thank you, most people feel like that's just me. You can pop them down and thank you. So they think it's just me. I'm the only one that feels these things, when in actual fact, you're the majority. Most people experience one or all of these 4 things. And the reason we often don't ask for the help that we need is because we're concerned that we'll look silly. So I just want to say, first of all, if you felt any of these things, you're really normal. And we're going to talk through those, but I also would like to encourage you to recognize those things in your behavior. So if you're noticing, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I want to encourage you that the only thing you need to do is just take a step at your pace. You don't have to move at anybody else's speed but yours. The other thing is, and this is one thing that you're going to hear me say a lot today, the one key to success on social media is you. Each and every one of you individually are the key to being successful. The thing is that your personality is what's going to make your business shine. It's what helps you connect with your ideal customer, your tribe. And so I want to really encourage you. Please don't feel that you need to be any more like anybody else out there. I want you to all be more like you and showcase your beautiful personalities. And we'll talk through how you can do that as we get to the practical element of what to post and when to post it a little bit later on. Now, some of you are probably wondering who on earth I am and why I'm teaching you all of this. So I want to give you a little bit of background so you understand where I've come from and why it is that I'm qualified to share this information with you today. Now, when I was 7 years old, I actually grew up in a small country town in South Australia. And when I was 7 years old, my family went through a very difficult breakup, and my mum moved interstate with my sisters. I, however, stayed with my dad. So from 7, I grew up alone in a small country town with my dad. It was just him and I. And Dad and I were best friends. We did everything together. We learned how to cook together, how to look after a house together. We grew up together because Dad had also never been alone. So we did everything. The thing was that my dad was also a businessman. And he was one of those businessmen that was always struggling. He was always looking for the next get-rich-quick scheme. And he was never, ever succeeding or getting ahead. Now, Dad had to constantly try and find a way to keep us going, but the thing was, he didn't have anybody else around, and so I was his sounding board. He would come home and he would tell me about everything going on in his world. So I would hear about how he was really worried that we weren't going to be able to pay the bills this month, get the groceries this week, all of those sorts of stresses that maybe a young girl wouldn't normally need to worry about. Now, by the time I turned 13, I wanted to start fitting in with my friends. And they were into the latest fashion. You might remember Doc Martens, the shoes, and Levi jeans were really, really popular at this time, and everybody had them. Do you remember this time? This was, I'm not going to give my age away, it was a while ago. And I really, really, really wanted my own pair of Doc Martens shoes and Levi jeans. The problem was that they're expensive, and I didn't want to ask my dad because I didn't want to put that pressure on him. So I decided that I needed to find my own way to have some responsibility financially in our little family. And so I started looking for a job. The problem was that at 13 I wasn't legally employable. No one would hire me, and so I had to look for another way. Now at 14 I discovered a little company in direct selling that didn't care how old I was. They didn't care what my experience was, and they would let me have a business so long as I sold, right? So at 14, I started my very first ever direct selling business. And by 16, I had built my business up through relationship building, purely through relationship building. I like to call myself a professional friend maker because that's what I became. And by 16, my business income, if I go back, my business income had, I was one of the top 10 salespeople in Australia in the company that I was with, and my income had surpassed that of my dad's. So, of course, I always had the latest pair of Doc Martens shoes and Levi jeans, right? And to this day, I still love to wear those Levi jeans. I have exactly the same ones. They are threadbare and I only wear them camping. But I love those jeans because they remind me of that really special time. Now, at 18 years old, my dad sat me down and he said, Sam, it's time that you go out and get yourself a real job. He didn't understand this industry. And at the time I was really cross because I loved the business I was building. However, now I'm really glad he did what he did because it pushed me out to gain some new skills that I get to bring to the table today. So I moved into a sales career. I did some really difficult but very character building cold calling sales roles before I moved into a marketing career. And I ended up working for one of the biggest print marketing companies in Australia for 11 years. I ended up running a big part of that company and managing over 200 staff and training people all over Australia and New Zealand. But one day something happened, and I'd been working for the company at this point for about 8 years, and I was the top of my game. I was fully trained in marketing. I knew everything there was to know. I understood the psychology of the sell. I understood the psychology of marketing, connecting any product or company to the end user. You could give me anything and I would find a clever way, and I loved it. But then there was a shift in the industry, and this new world of digital popped up. And the problem with this was I had a choice to make, because I was over here doing traditional marketing, and that was what we call broadcasting. It's where you tell everyone what you want them to hear to get them to do what you want them to do. But now we were in this new two-way world where it was interactive. It was two-way. I tell you what I want you to hear, but you also can interact back to me. And this was something that most people in marketing didn't understand. And so I had a decision to make. There was no formal training available for me or anyone in the business. We had to invest in ourselves or just do what we did. And so I had a choice. I either stay with what I know and what I'm comfortable with, knowing that I'm eventually going to get knocked off my perch by some young whippersnapper that comes up through the ranks that understands this technology, or I have to invest in myself, in money and time. And so I made the decision to travel to America to learn from some of the world's top experts when it comes to social media and digital marketing. I then decided, after 11 years of working with the company I was with, that I wanted to share that knowledge. It was too important not to share, because what I recognized was that when we do marketing for people, I can't replicate your personality. I can't replicate a business's personality. So I decided that I wanted to start a business teaching and empowering people to understand all of this for themselves so that they didn't get stuck like I was stuck. And so I started Oxano, which originally was called Sam Lee's Consulting. It was just a little business that I had off on the side here, and I didn't really know where it was going to go. But in the first year, we spent over $50,000 in learning all around the world. We went to Facebook, we learnt from them, we learnt from some of Facebook's best marketers globally. And now what we get to do every single day, and what I love to do, is go back to the industry that I started in. The thing is that this industry that you're all in is so incredibly powerful. All of you know that you've got something that changes lives, from the product to the business itself. And so what I get to do is share with you this knowledge that I've gained over all of these years and help you to take that knowledge and use it to grow your own businesses. Greg and I also get the pleasure of working as well with some charities that we get to have an impact on. Our company is called Oxano. Now, Oxano is a Greek biblical word that means to cause to grow and become greater. And we do that for you. And in turn, we also do that for some communities that we get to visit over in Africa and work really closely with, which is really exciting as well. Now, what I'm going to talk to you today is one of the key things that has never changed in the marketing world, but it is more important today than it's ever been before. And that is that people buy from people that they like, know, and trust. The problem is that trust is so important now, and yet it's harder to earn now than it's ever been, because it's a much noisier world than what we've ever had. So I'm going to talk you through some of the things that you can do to help you with this today, to earn that trust without ever meeting somebody. And there are some key ways you can do that. I also want to encourage you of this very important thing, and that is to be present over being perfect. About 3 years ago, I was speaking at a conference in the Gold Coast, and there was a beautiful young lady who had been working in the company she was with. It was a party plan business. She'd been working with the business for nearly 20 years. Her name was Chrissy. And Chrissy had been doing person to person for all of those 20 years. She'd been doing in-person parties, in-person meetings and catch-ups to grow her business. And how many of you work on mostly just in person? Few of you? Who relies on online? A couple of you. Okay, so the thing was that Chrissy decided to jump in and do some learning with us, to take her business online. Now, when she did this, she grew a little bit, she did okay, and we got to work with her, which was wonderful. But about it'd be 2 years ago now, Chrissy rings me and she's panicking. It was right before we went into our first lockdown. It might be a little bit longer than 2 years ago now. I feel like time is moving really quickly. So we were about to go into that first lockdown, and Chrissy was really stressed out because she had a whole team. She was a top leader in the company. She had a whole team below her that were watching her, that were learning from her, that were taking a lead from her. And Chrissy had grown her business doing what she'd always done, face-to-face, connecting with people one-on-one. And she realized that in just a week's time, her business was either going to close down because she was in person and there was no more in person, or she was going to have to change the way she did things and go online. Now, in Chrissy's case, she was doing she was doing in-person demonstrations. So she was getting groups of people together like a party in the home, and she was demonstrating the products. That wasn't going to happen anymore. So Chrissy decided, I'm going to ring Sam because I don't know what to do. And she said, I don't know how to run an an online virtual party. So Chrissy rings me and she says, I don't know what to do. My team are watching me, and I'm afraid that even if I give my business up right now, I'm responsible for all of them and their businesses as well. And she said, they're watching me and they're wanting to learn from me, and I don't know what to do. So I asked Chrissy the question, why haven't you gone online? And she said, because I haven't got it right yet. I'm worried it's not perfect, and I want it perfect before I do it. The problem was that by waiting for perfect, she was waiting for something that she would never achieve, but also she can't get it perfect without testing and trialing. The other thing is that other people are going to think, I can't do it until I get it perfect, and this is a problem. So I told her that the best thing she can do, and we did some training with her, but the best thing she could do is just get out and give it a go. So Chrissy decided to do that. She got out and she gave it a go. And it didn't go very well. She wasn't really happy. She was really nervous and she felt really uncomfortable, and not very many people showed up, and she didn't make very many sales, and she felt awkward. But she learned from it, she improved it, and she did it again. 3 months later, now remember, Chrissy was a top leader already. She'd been with the company for 20 years. 3 months later, Chrissy's business didn't just stay the same. It didn't just grow a little bit. She doubled her business in 3 months on 20 years of growth, simply by getting out and giving it a go. And do you know what people said to her? I want to join you because I'm like you, because you're real and relatable, and I don't feel like I have to be perfect to show up. So I just want to encourage you that when it comes to using Facebook or Instagram for your business, the first key is showing up and being consistent, because you'll learn through practice more than you'll learn through getting it perfect first. So I want to encourage you all today. We're going to play with this. We're going to talk about some things that you can do, but I really want to encourage you to try and watch what's working. This is the other key. You can't do it and then keep doing the same thing and keep making the same mistakes. Chrissy learned from her mistakes and grew. But I do see some people doing something we call posting and ghosting. It's where you post and you run away. And then you come back and you post the same sort of thing again and you run away. And you don't actually learn from what's working and what's not working. So we'll also talk about that a little bit today as well. Now I get today as well to talk to you about what's going on behind the scenes. So we're going to play a little video for you in just a moment. But just before we do, I want to talk to you about the changes that are constantly happening. Now, social media, all social media platforms are constantly adapting and evolving. They're constantly changing. Now, this can be scary, or it can be a really fun opportunity. See it as a fun opportunity because the only pace you have to move at, the only speed you have to learn at is yours, as long as you're moving. So I'm going to share with you a few little things today, a few updates that are going on, and then we're going to talk about what was brought up. Is it Ju? What Ju asked about how to get people to see all my things. So we're going to talk to you about why at the moment they might not be seeing all of your posts. So we'll just share a quick video and we'll see if that audio is coming through here or there. Is the audio coming through there? Or? Yeah, it is. It's
through your microphone.
Hey? This one. Some fun stats in there, right? Was the toothbrush one in that? There was a statistic that more people own a mobile device than a toothbrush globally. They need Atomy, apparently. But I just want to encourage you that Facebook, as much as there's lots of platforms out there, and there are, Facebook is still the leading social media platform because whilst people might use other platforms, majority of people in Australia and New Zealand and in the US are using Facebook as well. They use it as a form of communication as well as a form of entertainment. And a lot of people will say to me, should I use TikTok? Should I use Instagram Reels? And all of those things may have a place in your business, but Facebook for most people is the lowest hanging fruit to reach majority of their audience. So what we like to talk about is picking the pear off the tree before you get a ladder and climb the tree. So let's talk a little bit about Facebook for now, and we can talk about some of the other things you can be doing a little bit later on. The other interesting thing is a lot of people will say to me, Sam, are all Facebook users just old people? And the answer is no. 65% of Facebook users are still under the age of 35. We have 4 beautiful kids, 16, 14, 13 and 9. Did I get the ages right? Yeah. They keep changing. The 16, 14 and 13-year-old, much to my dismay, are using social media. I didn't approve this, but they're using social media. And the thing is that guess what? They're using TikTok, yes, they're using Instagram, but guess what they're using? Facebook. They still check into Facebook first. And then they sit there and tell everyone, oh, Facebook's just for old people. Yeah, but you're using it. So they may not use it for their entertainment and they may not see it as cool, but they're still on it. The other thing I want to talk to you about is what's going on behind the scenes. This is the really important part here. Is there anyone familiar with the algorithm? Yeah. A little bit? Okay. I'll just quickly explain it for those of you that don't know what it is. In 2009, Facebook recognised it was becoming a very busy place. And businesses at that point had realised they had a captive audience on Facebook. And so they started actively promoting their products, services and business opportunities. You might remember the time because it was when business pages first came out. And it was Facebook's way of trying to segment the content. The problem was that Facebook were losing users really quickly. Does anyone remember MySpace? So you had to think about that for a minute. Facebook didn't want to go down the gurgler like MySpace, so it thought we're going to have to adapt and become smarter. So it put into play a program that operates in the background of Facebook and Instagram called the algorithm. This program's sole job is to learn everything there is to learn about every single one of you. It learns things like what websites you go to, what you do for a living, who you're friends with, what sort of conversations do you have with those friends, what are your interests, what are your hobbies, what languages do you speak, do you have pets, do you have kids, how old those kids are. It even learns things like what car you drive and your household income. It takes all of this information and it uses it to deliver you only the posts, the content that it knows you personally want to see, with the intention of keeping you on the platform for longer and more frequently. So to put it into really simple terms, your Facebook and Instagram feed would be customized to you like a fingerprint. There are no two the same, and it's made for you and you alone. Now, the thing that you need to keep in mind here is that when you're promoting your business, your products, anything that you do, you're trying to reach your perfect customer. Facebook and Instagram, which is the same, it's Meta, are waiting to receive content from you that it can show them, that they're interested in. And until it gets that content, it won't deliver it, because its sole aim is keep people on the platform. So with that in mind, we're going to talk to you about how to use the platform to your advantage. Essentially, how to get it to do the work for you, which is the trick. You'll hear a lot of people say, I'll teach you to beat the algorithm. And can I just say, that's kind of like telling someone that you're going to teach them to beat the house in a casino. It's not going to happen. And with Facebook, you're talking about the most sophisticated piece of technology in existence. They know more about you than you possibly know about yourself. They can actually predict your behaviours before you've even done them. So we've got to keep in mind that with all of this, we can't beat it, we have to work with it. The other thing is that if you do try to beat it, you're usually breaching community standards and you'll end up in trouble anyway. So let's talk about why most people fail at Facebook right now. These are the things that we see people doing that get in the way. And who's done any of these things? Getting distracted by posting pretty posts. So focusing on how it looks, not the strategy behind it. I know I do this, I used to do it a lot, I catch myself now, where you go, oh, I'm going to do a post about blah. You've got an idea in your head of what you're going to do. And you go to do the post and you go to a platform like Canva to create it, and then you go, oh, look at all of these other pretty things I could be doing, and you get distracted, and an hour later you've created something completely different from what you set out to do in the first place. And there's no strategy or purpose to the post at all. And we tend to do this when we have a good hair day and we take a selfie and we're like, I need to find a way to post this because this doesn't happen very often, right? The girls in the room know what I mean, the guys not so much. So the next one is chasing likes over engagement, focusing on the wrong numbers. I just want to encourage you that getting an engagement from one person is more powerful than the likes of 100 people, because the engagement indicates that that person is interacting and is connected with you. So what we want to chase is not the likes, it's the people that are interacting. And with that in mind, I just want to let you know as well that it's actually been scientifically proven to be addictive to chase the likes. Facebook's actually changing some of its language at the moment to move away from like, because of the, it's very, very aware of mental health right now. But every time you get a like or a comment on a post or your page, your brain releases a little hit of dopamine that makes you feel really good, like you've just had a great piece of chocolate cake. And that's addictive. We tend to chase that, but the thing is, getting 100 likes on the last selfie I posted when I had a good hair day is not going to grow my business. But getting an interaction on a post where I asked a meaningful question may. The next one is selling. This is something that the algorithm is looking for. And there are certain things that it will pick you up for doing. Things like the use of dollar signs, numbers, email addresses, even sometimes websites, the words buy, book, sell, offer. All of these things will get picked up as selling. And when it gets picked up as selling, not only does your audience think, I'm not interested, but the other thing that happens is that the algorithm doesn't show it to people because it knows already that they're not going to be interested and that content isn't helping the platform. So we'll talk to you about selling without selling today. The next one is overposting. Too much. Do you know the sweet spot, the perfect number of posts to do is 5 to 7 a week. Just one a day. It doesn't have to be complicated, it just has to be consistent. And mixing that content up is important. Again, we're going to talk about that a little later on. The last one is probably the most important one, and that is, you've got to remember that if Facebook knows everything about you, it knows everything about your customer, which means that it's in your best interest to understand them so you know what they want to see. How do you deliver them posts that they're going to care about if you don't know who they are and what they care about? So it's really critically important in every area of our business. And I'm going to come back a little step for a moment. I know we're talking about Facebook and Instagram. However, a lot of these principles are important for every other part of your business as well. So, I don't know what's going on there. Oh, I can only see that up the back. Pop up on the screen. So just remember that every area of your business is important for you to get to know your customer, know what makes them tick, know what they care about. Change the way that you communicate with them to give them various different methods of communication. We'll talk about that a little later on as well. There's so much that I want to cover with you, but I just want to encourage you that social media isn't everything. And I'm not telling you today that I want you to put all of your business on social media and all of your eggs in one basket. What I am saying is it's an amazing way to make initial connections and in some ways to build those relationships as well, where it's not possible necessarily always to do everything face to face. But it doesn't mean we don't pick the phone up or send an email or have a coffee with someone or a catch up. So I just want to really encourage you to consider your customers and the things you need to get to know about them in order to grow all areas of your business. But it will definitely help you with what you post on social media for sure. So I want to talk to you about the 3 key ways to use Facebook specifically. Facebook has got personal profiles, business pages, and groups. Does anyone in the room have a group on Facebook at the moment? Yeah? Couple of you? Okay, yep. How successful, if you don't mind telling me, does your group work well for you, Joy? Not at the moment. Is it a VIP customer group or a team communication channel?
Both.
Both, okay. So who was the other, you nodded? Yep. How do you?
For the communication channel.
A communication, for team? Yeah, okay. So we'll talk about the different types of groups in a moment, but these are the 3 different areas of Facebook that you can have set up. Now, I often get asked, which of these should I use to grow my business? Should I use my personal profile, my business page, or my group? And the answer is actually all 3. All 3, but they have a different part to play. They also have different rules. So I'm going to take you through each of them. We're going to start with personal profiles. Your personal profile is what you first set up when you join Facebook. Does everyone in the room, just show of hands, does everyone in the room have a personal profile at the moment? Okay, there's a couple of you that don't, and that's okay. I just wanted to get an idea of how many of you are using them at the moment. Now, your personal profile is used for connecting with people that you already know. There are some very important rules at play here, but here are some of the tips to using a personal profile effectively. Now, by the way, you cannot have a business page or a group without a personal profile. So you must have a personal profile first. However, people don't know which personal profile is connected to the group or the business page. That's just behind the scenes. It's just for Facebook security. So we'll get to that. So the first thing is using your personal profile to create curiosity and intrigue, meaning to make people wonder. Instead of telling them everything they need to know, just share little pieces of your life, little pieces of what you get up to. I saw a few of you when you came in taking photos of your jumpers, your hoodies, or your name tags. You know, sharing a little photo like that with a post that says something like, I loved getting to do what I do and come to events like this, makes people wonder, what are they up to? But if you use it to sell, then you're breaching personal profile rules, and we'll talk about those. The next one is your personal profile is your opportunity to share your story. Now, when I say story, I don't mean your life story and everything that there is to go with that. I mean, every day you have little stories that come out of your everyday. You have thousands of them, and many of them relate to your products and your business. Your story is how people relate to you. When I came up here and I first started talking to you, I shared a little story about my childhood and why I'm in this business today. Can I ask, did that help each of you feel a little bit more like you related to me when I did that? Were you more willing to listen to what I had to say after I shared that than before? Some of you are like, no.
Yes.
Yes. So, this is really important. Your stories, as little and as insignificant as they may seem to you, are really important to help your audience connect to you personally. Do you know, I actually used to, when I presented, I thought everyone just wants the information. They just want to learn. They don't want to hear about me and my stories. And I did I've always had a coach, always. It's very important for me to always be growing as well and learning. And she sat me down and she said, Sam, what are you doing? You need to share your stories. And I said, no, people want to learn about Facebook and how to use it and technical things. She said, no, they're not going to listen to you if you don't let them in and help them know who you are first. Your stories are important, but they also help people learn. If you use your stories to tie it in, it helps people. And it's the same with your products. You know, I'm going to share a little example with you really quickly. Are you okay if I sell to you for a moment? I want to do something really corny, okay? I need something. What am I gonna sell? Give me something. Normally I've got chocolate. All right, we'll go with the mints. Everyone's gonna, I want the mints. Okay. I did this the other day when I got up to speak at a conference last week, and I think people nearly walked out of the room because I did it at the very beginning. Just imagine that you didn't know me at all right now. I hadn't introduced myself, and I came straight out here and I did this, and I said, okay, everybody, I have something I need your help with. I have this product I need to sell today. It's really important. I need to sell it and I want your help. Here's the thing that I want you to know about this product. These mints are the best mints you'll ever have. They're better than any mints that you've ever had before. I guarantee you. I also guarantee that they'll make you look younger. They'll make you smell better. And they'll probably make you more attractive. Actually, I guarantee they'll make you want the mints now, don't you? Now, these mints, you need them. If you've not tried them, you need them. These are normally $30, but I'm going to do a very special deal for you all today. If you share these mints online with your friends and help me sell my mints, oh, don't worry, I'll give you what to say. I'll send you the message to send out to all of them. But if you'll share this message with all of your friends, I'll do you a deal. I won't sell them to you for $30. I'll sell them to you for $29.95. Does anyone want to buy my mints right now? No. Okay. I want to try something else. And I don't have it with me. Oh, that's really annoying. Okay. No, that's okay. I'll go with the other option. So can I just get I'm going to ask you all a question. It's hypothetical, so don't panic, okay? Some people are going to get very stressed here, but I want to ask you a question. If you had to give one up and keep one of the following for the rest of your life, you only get to keep one, which would you choose? The choices are coffee or chocolate. Don't stress, there's people it's not real. So what I want you to do, if you would choose coffee, can you put your hands up, please? You're keeping coffee. If you're keeping coffee, put your hands up. Okay, if you're keeping chocolate, put your hands up. Okay, the chocolate people, I love all of you coffee people, but I'm talking to the chocolate people now. So the coffee people, you just entertain yourselves for a minute. Chocolate people, I want to talk to you specifically. You two put your hands up. Yep, and a couple up the back. Okay. We have something in common, okay? I love chocolate. I'm a big chocolate fan. About 2 years ago, I found just 30 minutes up the road from where I live in Tasmania at a little place called Latrobe, there is a chocolate factory. Now this chocolate factory is run by a chocolatier called Igor. And Igor travelled all around the globe and he found the world's rarest cocoa bean. He brought it back and he put it together with milk from local grass-fed cows and he created the world's rarest chocolate. Now, can I just say, this chocolate is amazing. It melts in your mouth and it has flavour unlike any chocolate you've ever tried. He also makes the most unbelievable chocolate truffles. And people travel all over to get this chocolate, right? Question though, like I love that every time I drive there to buy a coffee, they give me a free chocolate truffle. I would go to buy the chocolate, but that's the bit they give me for free. It's great. And I get home and I can say I didn't buy chocolate, so I don't feel guilty, but it's the best chocolate in the whole world. Would you be interested in trying the chocolate?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So can anyone tell me what was the difference between, and normally I have some with me, I'm so sorry. What's the difference between what I did the first time and what I did the second time?
You made a story?
I told my story. Yes. I shared my experience. Did anyone notice anything else I did differently?
Previously just said, now you just custom.
You didn't sell anything, you just gave a story.
Exactly. Did anyone in the room wonder, where do I get it? How much is it? Did you have questions in your head? It could be any question, but I left you with questions.
Yep.
The first time, did you have any questions about the mince? Because I told you everything you needed to know. I even told you how you could buy it, and I told you what I wanted you to do to help me. But at no point did I make it about you. I didn't get to know you, and I sold to everyone in the room. The second time, I segmented the room and I worked out who are the people in the room I needed to talk to. And I spoke just to that group of people. Out of curiosity, when I did that, did any coffee people decide that they wanted to jump ship and get the chocolate? Because I shared a story, and I didn't tell you how much it was, and I left you wondering. About a year ago, I started running with my stepdad. I had some really nasty knee injuries, and I've got a bucket list item that I wanted to tick off, which is I want to run a half marathon. And we haven't done it yet. We're still working on it. We will get there, but we go running every day after work. And there's a company I've done some work for that has a lipstick that doesn't come off. It stays on for 12 hours. And I put this lipstick on in the morning because I was speaking online at one of their virtual events, and it was bright red. And at 6 o'clock at night, I went to go for my run, and I looked in my rear view mirror, and I looked like I'd freshly applied bright red lipstick to go for my run. I thought, this is embarrassing. So I took a photo, a selfie, and I posted it on my feed, and I just said, I can't believe I still look freshly applied 8 hours later, and I'm about to go for a run. Well, at least I'll look good doing it. I don't sell these products, but that post went viral. Everyone I knew wanted to know, what's the lipstick you're wearing? How is it on 8 hours later? Of course, I had to tell everyone, I'm sorry, I don't sell this stuff. I had to send them to other people, but I didn't tell them everything they needed to know. I just shared a little tiny piece of my story, and that was my story from that day. So stories are really powerful, and I want to encourage you, just think about the things you do. What do you get up to? What have you done this morning? What are you doing right now? The next time you use a product, or you make a recipe, or you mix together, I'm going to share you some examples later on. There's a story I'll share later that I've been able to play with some of your beautiful products, even just with the honey. And just sharing what you do. That's what people care about. They pay more attention to that. The next one is to be respectful. Your family and friends that have connected with you on your personal profile have connected with you because they love and care about you and what goes on in your life. They haven't connected with you because they want you to sell them your business. So we need to be respectful that those people that connect on our personal profile care about our life, they care about us, but they didn't connect with us there so that we could be ramming our products and our business down their throat all the time. So we must be respectful of that. It doesn't mean you can't use it to sell, because I've just given you multiple ways you can sell without selling, but it does mean that we don't deliberately, as soon as someone comments on a post, go, I'm going to inbox you and tell you all of the information. Let people come to you. Let them ask you. Let them connect with you, and they will. They absolutely will. We're going to do lots to help you with this in the coming weeks. I'm very excited to be able to help you with it. Now, I also just threw a little extra bonus in for all of you that is very important when you're using Facebook. And I want to just say this is homework you have to do. Hopefully you've got in your printouts a security checklist. Have you all got a security checklist there? I'm hoping that one came through. Maybe the last page. Yes. Yep. Great. Okay. Is it just the one page that got?
Yeah.
Is it double-sided? No. Oh, there's 2 pages. Good. Okay. Now, I would get 3 pages. Great. So you've got it all there. Thanks, Leo. So I would get probably 3 emails or phone calls a week from people who have had their Facebook page hacked or shut down. And when that happens, it's Very hard, if not impossible, to get it fixed. But it is possible to prevent. So what I want you to do is, when you get time later on, go through this checklist I've given you when you set up your personal profile, and we're going to give you a training on that to set that up. For anyone that hasn't set that up before, we're going to give you a training afterwards to help, so you know how to do that. But what I want you to do is go through your security settings, which Facebook actually give you if you click that first screen that we're on. So if you click on, I don't know if I've got a little pointer here. Oh, look. No, I'll just point. So just if you click on this little drop down arrow up here and you go to settings and privacy, that will bring up that will bring up this here. And what you want to do is go to privacy checkup. Now, I've given you a few extra steps in there that you can take, but Facebook will prompt you to check how secure your personal profile is. The reason this is important on your personal profile is because whatever access anyone can get to your personal profile, they can get it to your business page and your group as well. So in order to protect those assets, which you're going to build, they're going to be assets for your business long term. So you need to protect them, which means you need to protect this too. And any business page you may be connected to, so if someone else has got you helping them run their business page or connected to it, you also, if this isn't done, you're also a risk to them too. Ask others to do this as well. Everyone who has a personal profile should do this. Because if you think about it, how many photographs do you put on Facebook that you just trust will be there when you want them? You load them up and you don't save them anywhere else. Some people don't. Those pictures, if you lose your personal profile, all those photographs, all of those friends, all those messages, all those contacts will be gone. We don't want that to happen. So, simple privacy checkup, and then it'll come up with this screen here, which you just click on each of the boxes, just to make sure that, and you probably don't need to worry about the bottom one there for now, but who can see what you're sharing, so you make sure that you know how public your profile is, how to keep your account secure, etc. And please set up two-factor authentication. Authentication. Thank you. So if Greg tries to log into my Facebook profile, he can't do it without a code off my mobile phone. So that means that there's a double check. So no one can get in without you doing that. Okay? So this is just something I threw in because I don't want any of you to call me and say, I'm stuck, I've lost my page, it's been blocked or hacked. So later on, do that process just to make sure that it's all nice and safe. Now, what can you use your personal profile to do? You use it to connect. So make those real life connections with people. Use it to be yourself and be real and relatable. Remember what I said? Don't be anybody else. Be you. People are not buying, would you believe, they're not buying Atomy products. They're not buying the Atomy business. What are they actually buying? Does anyone know?
You.
Yes, they're buying you. And I say this because really, if you think about it, people can get your products from lots of different places. They can go online, they can find any number of representatives to buy the product from. So why do they come to you? They come to you because they feel a connection with you. So the only way for them to make that connection is to be you. If you don't show up, they can't make that connection. If I stand up here and I share stories that belong to somebody else and not me, and I try to behave in a way that's not me, and I try to not be funny or make mistakes, people won't relate or connect with me. I'm not saying I'm funny, I just... In fact, a lot of people think I'm not very funny, but I go with it anyway. We just came back from America and we spoke at a conference over there, and it turns out that our sense of humour here is a very dry, sarcastic sense of humour. And they don't get it because they believe everything you say. So that they think we're serious. So when I say things that I'm being funny, and you know I'm making a joke, they didn't know I was joking. And so there were a lot of people that thought I was very strange by the end of it. So I had to change my jokes a little bit. So here are a few things not to do on your personal profile. This is very important. First of all, do not sell and promote your products or your business on your personal profile. The reason being is it goes against Facebook's community standards. It's against their rules to actively promote any product, service, or business opportunity directly on a personal profile. I know people do it all the time, but it doesn't make it okay. And these things get policed by bots, by computer programs that are looking for trigger words and phrases. If you get picked up for doing the wrong thing, they don't check, they just close your page. And you then have to go through a long process of asking for it to be reinstated, which can take months, years, or may never happen. So please don't breach this rule. It doesn't mean you can't use your personal profile to sell, because I'm going to give you ways. I just gave you a few ways to do it, but it does mean that you don't go, here's my product, here's how much it is, here's the link to buy it. Definitely not. The next thing is don't mass message people. This means, you know, when you have somebody that sends a message that you know they've copied and pasted to everyone on their list, and it's, I've got this wonderful business opportunity that I thought you might be interested in. Have you ever had one of those? If you get caught doing this again, you'll be in big trouble because it goes against community standards. And by the way, people hate it and you won't grow your business. You know this, I don't need to tell you this, but it annoys me. And I've got one particular person who is, she is my source of training because she does so many things wrong that it gives me a lot of screenshots to share with people. And she sends me about a message at the end of every month, right when you know she's trying to get those last few sales in. She doesn't ever contact me about me, ever. She doesn't ever ask how I am. She doesn't ever check in to see how I went with the last thing I bought. I bought from her once and I regret it profusely because now she thinks I am, clearly I want to buy from her again. I bought that to shut her up, to keep her quiet. It didn't work, it had the opposite effect. And now at the end of every month, she contacts me with a message that I know she sends all her customers. And she says, hey Sam, it's end of month and we have a very special deal going and I know that you'll be really interested and I didn't want you to miss out. If you would like the product or you want to talk to me about how many you want to buy or whatever, let's tee up a call. Are you available this afternoon? And I get so cross because I'm like, you don't even know what I'm up to in my world right now. You don't care. All you care about is you and your product. And that's the sort of thing that not only gets your personal profile in trouble, but it gives our business a bad name for all of you that are doing the right thing. So if you ever see anyone doing this, just, give them some suggestions. Just say, hey, have you ever checked out the free group that Oksana created, Social Media for Direct Sellers? Have you ever listened to Sam's podcast where she talks about how to do social media for direct selling? Go have a look at that. Send them my way and I'll fix them for you. It's actually why we do what we do. There was a day I got one of these messages and I went, that's it. I'm going to teach people because I've had enough. The other thing is, this one is really important. On your personal profile, I see that it's a very small percentage of people, but they're very loud. A group of people that tend to they seem to have worked out that when you're negative and you complain, you get a lot of attention. And some of these people think this is a really good way to build a business because the more people you get seeing your post, the better, right? Wrong. Car crashes is something that we all are like, it's drama, it's, oh, something's happened. But you're not going to go over to the car crash and be in the middle of it. And so what we've got to keep in mind is that drama and negativity does attract attention, but it doesn't grow your business. Because when you complain about things, people they want to have an opinion or they want to watch what's going on, but people remember how you made them feel, but not what you said. They remember not what you said, but how you made them feel. So if you make someone feel a bit negative or angry because you've brought up something that they're also passionate about, what are they going to remember about you and your business. And they won't necessarily remember why they feel it, just that they do. So keep in mind that what you want to do is build a relationship that is with people that like, know, and trust you. And to do that, be yourself, but don't get caught up in negativity, in being controversial and complaining on Facebook. It's not a good look for your business and your brand as you grow it. Okay, and we've covered off on that. So let's talk quickly about groups. What's the time?
20 past 10.
Cool, okay. Let's talk about groups. Groups are where you build community. This is the second way to use Facebook. Now, groups, there are 3 different types of groups we're going to talk about today. But within a group, so once you have a personal profile, you can now set a Facebook group up. People won't, that you can have it so people know whose personal profile it's connected to, and that's a good thing because inside of a group you want to be yourself. You're part of the community. But if you don't want people to know it's you, there are ways of doing that. But we'll just pretend for this, the purpose of this training, you're going to be yourself within that group. Groups are where everyone can contribute equally, whereas on your personal profile, you're the only one contributing to that. So 3 different types of groups for business growth in this industry. The first is your team. So it's a really great idea to have a private group that you set up to communicate with others in your team. You can train them, motivate them, connect with them, communicate with them. So this is one type of group that's a clever type of group to have. Another type of group is your customer group. So this is where once you connect with someone and you get to know them a little, you want to then nurture that person. And getting them into a VIP group or a private group is a great way to do that. So a VIP customer group where you share important information they might want to know about, that you provide extra value. There are lots of strategies to successfully using a customer group. The last one is special interest group. This is where you create a group to find new leads. A special interest group is a group where once you identify what your ideal customer is interested in, you can create a special interest group to attract more of those types of people. So for example, this might be a celiac group. If you recognise that a lot of your ideal customers are people who suffer from celiac disease, you might have a celiac group that is not about Atomy, it's not about your business, it's simply about people like-minded that are going through similar things are all connecting. They're sharing recipes, ideas, thoughts, experiences. But you know that by setting up a group like this and facilitating and connecting in this group, you've got a pool of perfect customers for you. It might be a group of mums with young children that, it might be the lunchbox idea group. You know, there are lots of different types of special interest groups. It could be a group for people with a particular type of dog. There's no rules. This is about identifying what your ideal customer's interests are, and you can create a group up to build community that works around that. So a couple of tips to help you with managing your group. Whoops, go back. So the first is you need to be consistently active in your group. You can't just set the group up and let them all go. You need to be showing up and keeping it active. Again, there are lots of ways you can do this. Also, make sure that right from the beginning you set out clear rules and expectations so that everyone knows what they get when they join the group. What's it about? What am I here for? What's going to happen in here? And what are the rules? You may not need rules, but depending on the type of group you have, it may be very important. And then make sure, the most important thing with anything you do on social media is always provide value. This doesn't mean discounts and products. It means make sure that you're providing value to them, meaning that you're showing up where they need you to, with what they care about. So, for example, if it's a celiac group, it might be that you're providing a recipe every week. It might be that you're sharing a piece of important knowledge every week that's going to help them, that they care about. That's about them, not you. If it's the group about the special type of dog, it might be special type of information about that dog. It might be dog food recipes. There are lots of fun things you could do, tricks. ways to train them. You might get other people to come into the group that are really, that are experts in certain areas and get them to share information as well. Now what I want to do, we're going to talk about business pages next, but I want to give you all a little bit of a break to get up and stretch your legs. The Creator Studio and the Business Suite. Now these are slightly more advanced tools. We can teach you how to use these, but for right now, just know they are tools that are there to help you create great content, and they're available on mobile and computer as well. So business pages are where I like to put most of our focus, because once you get the connection, you can build the relationship, and each of you know how to build relationships. Really, you know how to do it. A lot of you did it with me just now. You came up, you said hello, and we had a conversation. You know how to talk to people. I just want to remind you that one of the things with Facebook we've got to remember is it's social media, which means really what you're doing is applying your own social skills to the platform, just like you would if you were speaking to someone in person. One of the things that we do a lot is we overthink what we put on social media, which means we tend to try to be really technical. But really, it's about connecting, just having conversations like you would right now with everybody in this room. So your personal profile and your groups are where you have those real relatable everyday conversations. Your business page, though, is where you start that relationship. You attract people in, you make the connection, and then you take it to your group or your personal profile or somewhere else. So let's just quickly talk about business pages and what Facebook is looking for. The first thing that Facebook is looking for is something that we call UGC, which stands for User Generated Content. This is so important to understand because this is where you insert your personality. User-generated content is where you take your own pictures, you write your own captions, that's the text that goes with the pictures, and you are you. The thing is that when you, oh sorry, I know you were taking pictures of that. When you, no. When you are sharing things all the time, you're just sharing somebody else's content. You're not making it yours. Whereas when you put your personality into it, it suddenly becomes relatable and people can connect with you. So I'm going to give you examples of this a little bit later on to help you with this. But I want you to just answer this question, maybe write it down on your piece of paper. When somebody comes in contact with you for the first time and every time thereafter, what do you want them to feel when they make that connection? Do you want them to feel connected? Do you want them to feel important? Do you want them to feel interested? Do you want them to feel safe? Do you want them to feel fun? Do you want them to feel joy? Do you want them to feel excitement? Do you want them to feel curious? What do you want people to feel? This came up a long time ago for me because I know that there's a lot of people will teach you just to post. Just post. And when you do that and you don't think about it, sometimes you can actually do yourself damage because you're not being intentional about what you're posting. Just like if you were to walk up to somebody and say something, you need to be intentional about what you say and how you say it, because sometimes you can leave somebody feeling not very good. And it wasn't what you meant to do, but if you just open up your mouth and say things for the sake of it, it can sometimes go not so well. We've all been there, we know. So the thing is that when you put things on social media, you've got to have that same intention about what you post. I was ringing a friend of mine who is also another keynote speaker, Lindsay. And Lindsay speaks in this industry as well. And I rang her a few years ago and just to touch base and see how she was doing. And she answered the phone and she was just so bright and bubbly and personal. And I was like, wow, Lindsay, every time I speak to you, I feel I could be having the worst day. And I always just feel so good when I get off the phone to you. And she said, that's because it's my intention. She said, I set an intention that everyone I come in contact, no matter who they are and no matter how short that interaction is, no matter where it is, if it's on Facebook or on the phone or in person, I want that person to feel better leaving the interaction than they did coming in. And she said, it's not very hard. I just have to think about it and it kind of happens. It's just about setting the intention in advance. And I was like, wow, I'm going to do that. It's not so easy, can I say, to set the intention. It's about being deliberate before you interact. But I would really encourage you to think about this one question. What do you want people to feel? And then when you're creating your social media plan, just consider, are the things that I'm planning to do going to help me get this? Or are they going to hinder it? Or are they not going to do anything at all? So we're going to go into now the technical side of things that is, this is not the fun part, okay? So I wanted you to all get coffee, have your Hemohum and be wide awake so we could talk about this quickly, and I promise I'll be very fast. But this is very important because I want to talk to you just quickly before we go into the fun part where I'm actually going to pull Greg up and we're going to talk to you about your tribe, your ideal customer. We need to talk about compliance. So the reason I want to bring this up is that there has just been some changes in the way that we share certain things on social media and in person. There are always rules on Facebook, so we have to be aware of what those rules are. But there are also rules that apply to our industry. And those rules are what we call the TGA. Have you all heard of the TGA? Yep, you're like, I'm all over this, why is she talking about it? I want to give, the reason is because I want to give you some examples of what you can do to help you here. Now I know that right now you only have one product that is currently TGA listed, which is your sunscreen. However, I believe that we also should be aware that there may be other products that will come up under the TGA listing as well. Any of you aware of any products that may come up under the TGA listing in the near future? Oh, good. Okay. So I didn't know if I could say that. So maybe Hemohum may come up. So we just want to be aware of how we're sharing things because, let me tell you why. So what is the advertising code? This just regulates the way that people are allowed to talk about any therapeutic good or what would be considered a medicine online, so that people are not misadvertising or sharing anything that could harm somebody. Claims are what they're looking for. So what it doesn't apply to is any food product or cosmetics. So things like your the pomegranate jelly is considered a food product. So we still have to be careful about claims, always careful about claims with everything. But this relates specifically to products that are considered a medicine or a therapeutic good. So what's the difference between an endorsement or a testimonial? This is the big change that's just come about. So to understand the difference first is important. So an endorsement is where you express that you support or believe in a product or brand. The endorsement must not reference the individual's personal experience, because as soon as you reference your personal experience, it becomes a testimonial. An endorsement, if it's about a therapeutic good, references the health benefits, and these need to be the health benefits that are listed that you're allowed to state, which are all very clear. So you've all got documentation that tells you what you can say. And can I say your website's a really great place to start, because anything on your website will be allowed. So if you want to know what can I say, but I'm going to give you some tricks with this as well, because that's my job. So just keeping in mind, you can endorse a product that is TGA listed, such as your sunscreen, but you can't share a testimonial, okay? Don't ask me why, I'm just telling you what you can't do. So what's the difference between an endorsement and testimonial? A testimonial is made when an individual reference or personal experience of using that good, and where it may include as well before and after photos is the other side to it. So how does this affect you? Basically, this means that you as direct sellers can only share an endorsement, not a testimonial, about those specific products. Now, we're referring right now just to the sunscreen. So I'm going to give you some examples in a moment. So you can't share a testimonial and you can't state that you use it. Okay? So is there anyone in this room who is a former health professional in any way? Okay. So it also prohibits current or former practitioners, health professionals or medical researchers or anybody who represents themselves as being qualified or trained to diagnose, treat or prevent disease from making an endorsement or a testimonial. So this means that if you've got any history in this space, so history as a practitioner, you can't even endorse. Okay? This is important to know as well if you are helping to support or train anyone else in the business to ensure that they understand all of this. This is something that you will be held to personal account for. So it's not as simple as, oh, it'll be okay, I'll just get a warning and I'll get away with it. They're being very, very strict about this. So I don't want you to be worried about it, but I want you to be aware of it. And please don't think, I'll get away with it, I'll do it anyway. In this case, it's not easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. In this case, we need to find a different way. So this advertising code came into effect at the beginning of this year, and it has just, as of the 30th of June, now we're out of our little grace period. So they're now just starting to regulate this, which means they're watching and looking for anywhere that anybody might be in breach. So this only applies, and this is important to know, you can actually look up. If you're ever not sure about what products you have that are TGA listed, or any other products from anywhere, you can actually look them up because they're all listed on this website. So this applies to any product there, including if you know anyone in maybe a direct selling company that's not yours and you go, I know they're doing the wrong thing, but I love them and I care about them, I want to let them know. You might want to look up and just support them in that way too. So as a direct seller, are you permitted to post customer testimonials if those testimonials are genuine and the customer agrees to it? This is one of the little loopholes, I suppose. If an advertisement is posted by you, it can contain a genuine customer testimonial, but it cannot contain testimonials from health professionals or anyone who received or would receive any compensation. So if they're being rewarded in any way for sharing that testimonial, you can no longer use it. So it has to be genuine. It also has to be agreed to by them. This is very important. And you have to get it shared in their words. Best way to do that is often a video, because then there's no question. So this one is one I want you to be very aware of, and that is, if you've previously done this, if you've previously posted a testimonial or an endorsement that you already know is in breach of the things I've just been through, you do have to go back and delete it, because you can be penalised for past content. So I would encourage you, if you're thinking there might be something, just take a little bit of time in the next week just to go back, hide it or delete it, just to make sure that you're all fine, okay? So, you know where you can find that. I've already shared that link for you. So, what is permitted? You may describe or list the product's benefits and credentials as set out in the product's permitted indications. So, for every TGA listed product, there are approved things you can say by the TGA that you're allowed to use. And your team here have given you some documentation with those statements. Those things can be said. So you can use images of the product as well, as long as they don't suggest that you're using it. So I'm going to give you examples of what those images could look like shortly. What is not permitted is sharing your personal experience, positive effects or feelings about the therapeutic good. For example, language such as, I love this product. You should refrain from using images showing you using or consuming the product as well. So with the sunscreen, you can photograph it, you can hold it, you can take pictures of you holding it, but you cannot put it on your skin in the picture. Okay? Here's an example of that. So in this top one here, it says, Did you know Brand X sunscreen is dermatologist tested and formulated for sensitive skin, making it suitable for both adults and children with SPF 50 plus broad spectrum UVA and UVB protection. It's a summer staple in every household. This is permitted because this is stating statements that are TGA approved. So all you're doing is you're stating facts about the product. It isn't, however, a very fun post. So we'll talk about how you can make a post more personable while also staying compliant. The second one is not okay. She's putting it on her face and she says, I've thoroughly loved using Brand X sunscreen all summer long. It rubs in easily and my skin is never oily or sticky. Brand X is the only sunscreen I use on myself and my family. This is not okay because we're saying we use it, we're putting it on our skin, and we're sharing a testimonial. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so question now, pop quiz. Tell me of these, which ones are compliant, which ones are not compliant. Are you ready? I've just made some up. Now I actually did a little video. I'll show you the video actually. This was a video I created that is in fact, oh actually you tell me, is this video compliant? Probably just gave that away. No. So this was a video that I wanted to show you. One of the ways you can incorporate video into your content, okay, is unboxing. You've all got beautiful packaging. So unboxing is one clever thing that you can do.
You said trust.
Is this text compliant or not compliant?
No. It's not compliant.
Who thinks it's not compliant? Who thinks it is compliant? Or raise hands higher. You need to be like, you one way or the other. So watching what I'm doing here, this is how tricky it is. This text is actually compliant because I said I trust it, which means I'm endorsing it. I didn't say I use it. See the slight difference in the text? I trust this amazing sunscreen for my whole family. I did not say I use this sunscreen for my whole family. Now, the video compliant?
Yes.
Yeah. What did I not do?
Like your skin.
I would have loved to have put it on my skin. What else could I have done? Because there was another step I was going to take with this. What could I do if I wanted to show people the colour difference between the two?
Put it on a
Paper or something.
Paper. I could have just spread it on some paper. As long as I didn't use my fingers to put it on my skin. I probably could have got away with using my finger to spread it on the paper because I'm not showing that I'm putting it on my skin, but even better would have been to just smudge it straight from the tube.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay?
Good idea.
So here is another one. Is this compliant?
Oh, no.
Does anyone think this is compliant?
No.
Great. Fast learners. What about this one?
Yeah.
Is it compliant?
No. It's okay.
It is compliant.
Yep.
This is my loophole. You may not be able to say certain things about the product to be compliant, but you can talk about the properties of ingredients. So as long as I don't state that they're definitely going to do these things, let's just say with Hemohim, I know it's got a lot of herbal extracts, etc. in there. You could pick just one herbal extract and create a post about the ingredient in Hemohim and talk about the properties of that ingredient. So you're now not saying, let's just say that there's a property that is great for hair loss.
Hemohim is black for
Let's just
Pretending not to be listening.
yeah. Let's just say that there's a herbal extract in there that is known for its hair rejuvenating properties. You can't say Hemohim will help you regrow your hair, but you could say Hemohim contains
Blah, 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 blah.
chamomile. It's not, I'm just making this up, that is known for its properties that help rejuvenate hair. Now you've got to be very careful about statements that are conclusive, but you could say known for, or what wording did I use here? Known as, appears to have. So you're making generic statements that allow people to make their own decisions. We got into a taxi a few weeks ago, and I was actually with a leader from another direct selling company. We'd been out for dinner, and this leader has had a daughter who had leukemia. She's now recovered, and it's an amazing story. We actually interviewed her on our podcast, so if you ever want to hear the story, it was a beautiful episode. But Christine was in the car with me, and she was telling Greg about her story about her daughter. And as soon as she said, the taxi driver had been silent this whole time. As soon as she said the word leukemia, suddenly he starts talking. He went, "Did you say you know someone with leukemia?" And Christine went, "Yes." He didn't wait to ask if the person was recovered, how they were doing, nothing. He jumped straight and he went, "Oh, I know exactly what they need. I know how to cure leukemia. I've got this product that cures cancer."
Wow.
Is this compliant?
No.
We were laughing a lot because we'd just done training on compliance. But I just want to encourage you. This is your bit, Greg. You can come up and join me now. But I just want to encourage you, be very careful about what you put online because it doesn't go away. And it's easy for people to misread. So I really believe that less is more. Sometimes giving less information creates more curiosity and opens up the opportunity for more conversations. And those conversations are where the magic happens. So you now get to hear from both of us. I'm going to let you go this side so I'm closer to the clicker thing because it is a bit irritated with me, I think.
So hello everybody, I'd like to come up and have some fun with you today. And as you know, we're married, so we do get to do a lot of this together, and for the last few years it's usually been in front of a computer screen. So what's really interesting to me about all of this is one of us is a professional speaker and the other one's me. And so I get to come along and have a little bit of fun, and today I'm going to put Sam right on the spot. And look at that. I'm going to put Sam right on the spot because we're going to talk to you today about your target customer to really understand who that person is and how it is that you connect with them. Because if you're connecting with your target customer, if you're out there and saying, "I want to get this product out to everybody. It's my mission to get this product out. I love X product or Y product. I think the toothpaste is awesome." If your mission is to get the toothpaste out to absolutely everybody, that's a great thing to have on your heart. But it's quite interesting, is it my job? Is it my job to speak to every single one of the millions of people in Australia? Is it realistic? Am I built to do that? And some of us, it may well be. You know, I might be the next Elon Musk that's meant to change the whole world, but it might actually not be our calling. And so we're here today to talk to you next about target customer, but I'm going to put Sam on the spot. I want to have, look at this. Sam has an amazing ability to convey an example of our target customer. So I want you to see what it can look like from a person who's really developed in delivering that explanation. So Sam, can you talk about who our target customer is? Please?
Okay, well, we're going to give an example in a moment of why this matters so much as well. But our target customer and your target customer is something that's always changing and adapting, okay? So what I want you to be aware of is this is not something you figure out and then you've done the job and now you can move on. You always want to be thinking about who this is. So what do we know about Oxano's ideal customer? What we know about our customer is typically it's a female, not always, but typically it's a female. It's usually somebody who is over the age of 35 and somebody who values family. It's somebody who has either been a stay-at-home parent for a long time or has been working in a job whilst trying to balance family and now realizes, I want to break free from that cycle. They really believe in the health and wellness and quality time with their family. This is somebody who wants their own success on their own terms. They don't want to be making someone else lots of money. They want to benefit from their hard work now. They also are looking for a sense of self. They're looking for a sense of, I did this on my own. not I relied on anybody else, I did this. They value community and connection and friendship. And this industry gives them a lot of those things. It gives them connection with like-minded people, but it gives them hope and opportunity to be successful on their own terms. The other thing that we know about our customer is that typically they compare themselves to other people. They look at other people and they think, I would love to be more like that. I can see that there's potential to be really successful, but I'm not sure that I'm capable of doing that. And they question themselves. And so they typically end up either giving up or mimicking somebody else that they look up to. It's what we call comparison. We also know that this is someone who really values quality time with family or pets. They've got either kids or pets and they really want to spend more time with one or both of those. So there's so many other things I could talk about with our ideal customer, but my question is, does any of that sound familiar to anybody here? Yeah, okay.
And I want to jump in and talk about that. Now, I've put Sam beautifully on the spot to explain that. Now, I want to give an example. Most of the time when I talk to somebody who's in this industry and I get to meet them for the first time, and I ask them who their target customer is. Now, I get to do the easier version. So Sam's just given you a detailed example of what it can look like, and we'll tell you what to do with it in a minute. But the example when I talk to most people is, well, she's a mum, and she's 35 to 65, and she's got money.
This is the description people give Greg.
So most people tell me that's who their target customer is. So basically they've described a lady with a pulse and some money. And that's where most people start from. And it's really good to see the comparison between it, because when we start putting things out there and we start offering value to people or connecting with people, if we think we're trying to go for anybody with a pulse versus, no, this is the person that we want to look for, this is who we're serving on social media, this is the information and the value we're providing a person to, it makes a really big difference. And so knowing that, now I wouldn't expect that in 5 minutes time you're going to have an epiphany and be able to describe your target customer like Sam just did. But what I'm looking to do right now is to show the difference on the journey between when you're here to when you're here, but also to remind you that Sam and I have more to go on that journey too. We've got more to learn about our target customer. And so that's what we want for you. We want you to understand that actually when you know who you're speaking to, when you actually work out who that is, it makes such a difference in actually reaching them. It actually helps you to use social media or any other networking and connecting method to really understand who you're here for and how to help them.
So in front of all of you, you've actually got a little worksheet that we've given you, which is called an avatar worksheet. And this is where you can start to ask yourself some questions about what you could get to know about them. And this is going to help you with all of the content that you create for social media when we get to the next section. So just as Greg's talking through some of this and I'm talking through some of this, we're going to walk you through this process. Now, Greg, I'm actually going to use our little example very quickly. Do you want me to go into the dating example and
Yes.
then, so why this matters? Okay. There are 2 steps to this process. The first step to this process is getting to know who they are and attracting them to you. And we do that by understanding what makes them tick, what matters. The second step is also very important. Now, this is where I want you to be really honest with me and not take me too seriously, but I'm going to give you an example here that may change your opinion of me, okay? You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Has anybody ever written out a list of characteristics or attributes you might be looking for in a future husband or wife? Thank you, Jack, for being honest.
Anybody else?
Anybody else done this? Right.
Thank you, Jack.
Okay, right. Right, good. Thank you. I have done this process at least once in my life. Before I met Greg, not after. Now, I might write things down like, I'm looking for someone who's tall, dark and handsome. I got tall and handsome. I might be looking for someone who's really social and can converse with anybody. I might be looking for someone who's confident, someone who's successful. I might look for someone who's interested in the things I'm interested in, like good wine and food, right? These might be things I'd write on my list. Now let's just imagine for a moment, completely hypothetical because I've never done this, but let's just say I've got my list of things I've written down and I know what sort of person I'm looking for. And I put that in my back pocket and I'm going to go and find this person. So I go to a party. Again, I've never done it. It's just a story. I go to a party and I've got my list in my back pocket and I think, right, I'm looking for my future husband. And I go to the party and I look around the room. I've got my drink in my hand and I'm looking around and I'm looking for someone that ticks all my boxes. And as I look around the room, over to my left, I see somebody who is surrounded by a group of people. They're holding the conversation captive, so they're definitely social. They've got a beautiful suit on, so they must be successful, right? Because that's the telltale sign. They're tall, dark and handsome, so they tick that box. And in one hand, he's got a glass of wine, and then in the other hand, he reaches out and picks up an oyster off the tray going past. And I think, that's my guy, right? So what do I do? Imagine if the next thing I do is this. Hi. Will you marry me? I reckon there'd be a human-sized hole in the wall over here where this guy's just taken off, right? But think about it this way. This is what a lot of people do on social media. They go, hello, how are you? Will you buy from me? So the next key step, I know the things I know about my ideal customer. That's my list in my back pocket. But the next step is, cue slide, date them. So the next step is I actually need to earn the right to build the relationship to ask him to marry me or have him ask me, which is even better, right? We want our customer to come to us and say, can I buy from you? I want him to say, will you marry me?
And I actually want to take a moment to talk about that, because when we chat with people, a lot of people say how bad it is when you feel like you're hounding and hassling people. You know, when we're reaching out to someone and we feel like we're pushing into their space, there's nothing like the feeling of when someone comes to us and says, I'd like to buy your product, I'd like to be on your team, I'd like to do this with you. It's a completely different approach, and it is actually possible. It's our passion in this industry is to show that way. It is possible to attract people to come to you so that they ask you, and that feels so much better. Mm-hmm.
So let's have a look at why this matters, identifying this person for you. The first reason is it will help you form a social media objective, a strategy. It will help you work out what you're posting because now you know what they're looking for, what they care about. The next thing is it's going to help you to directly communicate with them. Now, earlier, I asked a question of the room. Would you rather keep coffee or chocolate? Those that answered chocolate, I spoke directly to that group of people about what I had, the message I had. I didn't speak to the coffee people. I didn't say this is for everyone. I said this is for a particular group of people. What happened was, and this is where the busking analogy comes in, what happened was, because a lot of people will say, but Sam, if we're really specific about who we're speaking to, are we going to alienate other people that might be our customers? What if those people don't come to me now because I'm speaking just to the 5 people in the room that like chocolate? What happens is that you actually attract more people outside of that group because you are being so specific. Did you see there were coffee people that said, now we want chocolate too? We want to change our mind? Because they could see that I was being really clear. And people like to follow. So where a crowd begins to grow, you will attract more people to that crowd.
And you absolutely don't need everybody. When we tried for everybody with these mints, we got nobody.
Is it because no one in the room likes mints?
No.
Mm-mm. It's not because no one in the room likes mints, it's because we made this relevant to everyone and it wasn't.
And we also started off with the Will You Marry Me, which was straight into a hard sell. Now that example, which was a couple of moments longer, which was about that chocolate, there were quite a few people here that were partway through. We hadn't even got to the bit that was actually meant to create attention. They're like, give it to me, tell me where I can get it, I want it right now. That's where you're creating that demand, where people are coming to you and saying, I want this.
So the other two things here are, you will build, when you are clear about this, a community of like-minded individuals, which means they're also going to love each other, which means that you're going to create an amazing community. When you create community, you also create something that we call third-party validation, which means that people start sharing your message for you. They become your followers, if you like, and they support you, they love you, they appreciate you, and they want to share that message with their family and friends as well. The last one is most important of all, and I can tell you, we've been through this the hard way. When you try to please everyone, you end up working really hard to please people you were never meant to please. When you work with the people that you love working with, you're actually working with the people you were put here to connect with. If somebody's really not your type of person, set them free. Let them work with the person put here to work with them. Because then you can put more time and energy into the people that energize you, that bring you joy, that you love connecting with. Sometimes we think that when we enjoy doing something that it's bad because it doesn't feel like work. It's actually the opposite. We tend to avoid the things we should be doing because we think it feels too good, this can't be right. So when you're working with people you love working with, when you're talking to people you love to talk to, start asking yourself, is this because this is actually the real person I'm supposed to be connecting with? So this is where we get to talk to you about the two ways to identify who this person might be for you. So do you want to do it, or do you want?
Just bring the first one up. So one of the ways to do it is to look at your existing customer base. And if you've got a number of customers, but you look at one person in particular and you go, wow, you are absolutely my favorite, you bring me so much joy. And this person you've been able to be so helpful for, you've been able to have such a big impact, and you think, gee, if only I could have 200 of those, my life would be complete. So can you imagine if you've already got a customer like that, someone in mind where you just go, wow, I've made a difference to them, I have loved working with them, they're a great customer, I just want 200 more like that. And so you start to think about what it is about that person, because when you have that clarity of, I want more like that, you need to know what that is before you can start to work towards getting it.
So consider that person who you love to have a conversation with. They speak about you from the rooftops. They share your product, your story with other people. Every time there's a new product, they want to know about it. They're always, contacting you for more. This is that person. Does anyone have in mind somebody right now that might fit that? Okay.
Somebody that when you call them to tell them that you've got a brand new product, they say thank you. That's the kind of person that brings joy in your business. When they actually say thank you for sharing this with me, wow, you've got something.
And
like that
you can
going
pick
on.
the phone up to that person at any time about anything. You just click.
Actually, even not about product. They're
No,
joy to
that's
hear
what I
from you.
mean about anything. You can talk to them about things that are not product related or product. It doesn't matter. You get along with them. That you connect. So this is the first one. Now, when you're filling this form out, if this is you and you've got someone in mind right now, I want you to think about, answer this as though you're building a clone of that person. So think about that person, and it doesn't matter if you're really specific and you get it wrong. What it's going to do is help you really start to think about what actually makes this person tick, because there's going to be more people just like that person waiting for you to connect with them. So think about those questions that are on that form that you've got. How would you answer that about this particular person? Know that you won't know everything right now. You may not know much of it, but this is an opportunity for you to start to get curious. And there are some really clever ways that you can find this information out as well. Aside from tricky ways, which I'll give you in a moment, you can just sit down and have a coffee with them and ask if they could answer some questions, because you want to get to know them better, and just ask them straight outright.
Especially when you've already identified this person here, this person I know the name of, that loves to hear from me, we'd love to have a coffee or a catch up or whatever, then you know you can sit down with that person and learn more about them and really be intentional about that.
Say to them that you just did a training and you've got some homework and you'd love their help to do the homework. Would they mind if you shouted them a coffee or just have a phone call with them? Would they mind if you asked some questions about them because they're one of your favourite customers? They're always going to love to hear that. Or one of your favourite friends, you might even say, and you just want to get to know them a bit better for your homework. It's a great way of doing it. The other way, of course, is Facebook questions, but we'll get to that. So the next way to identify, if you don't have someone in mind, this is a question we get asked a lot. People will say to us, is my ideal customer just another version of me? And the answer is, it could be, but it's not you now.
So I'd like to explain this a little bit because both of these examples apply to your teams. So this isn't just about you, this is also about how can you help your teams to ask these same questions because it makes a big difference in growth. So even if this one doesn't apply to you, even if you already know that perfect customer that you just want to clone, there's also the thought of who were you before you joined the business. So you don't necessarily want somebody who's exactly like you now because in some ways you're sitting in a room full of those people and they're not about to join your team if they're not already on your team. You actually want somebody who's not quite at that point yet who can come on the journey that you can take them with you. So imagine if you could find 100 of yourself the day before you joined the business, the day before you first tried the product, then that's like wow, because you know how passionate you are for the business, for the product, for the opportunity to sit in this room and to do all the other amazing things that you get to do as part of this company. You're here because you know it has that impact. And so if you're able to think about who was I the day before, the month before, the year before I found out about this amazing company, well, if you could clone that person, if you could find a number of them out there, how powerful would that be to have them join this journey with you?
So some of the things that you want to get to know about this person, there are no limits, there are no rules. The more you can get to know, the better. And this will change because the world changes, they change, and you change. This will always adapt and evolve. So what I would like to encourage you to do is to always be curious. Always be wondering, what am I learning about this person? What do I know about them right now? What do I need to get to know? Always be asking those questions within yourself because every conversation you have with them will actually shed little pieces of light on areas that are going to help you. So some of these things really matter. The things that I want you to pay particular attention to are the things that help you speak into their values. So consider as well, age will matter because you'll speak to different age groups different ways. Gender matters because you're going to speak to a male differently to how you'll speak to a female. Family life will matter in career because it determines the stresses and the challenges they're experiencing. Brands they love, how do they communicate? What I mean by that is, what platform are they using? What social media are they using? And how do they use it? So for example, my kids use Facebook, but they use it for Messenger. So if I understand that, I'm not going to be putting, and they also do a bit of stories as well. So if I put a story today, so I had a beautiful photograph of my daughter. She hates when I put a picture of her on Facebook. I had a beautiful picture of her and I at the last event we were at. They actually came and heard us speak for the first time in 8 years. They heard us speaking. And I got a photograph of them beforehand. Now, when I did this, I was like, if I put this photograph on my main feed, she won't see it. But if I put it in my stories, she will see it. So I put it in my main feed. So it's just understanding how they communicate. Where are they? Where are they showing up? So you can show up where they are.
Now we've got these dot points here on the screen, but another way to look at this is actually what matters to them. Now we don't care about what doesn't matter to them, what doesn't make their heart sing or what doesn't have an impact on them. But there could be a whole bunch of things that weren't on that screen. It could be they are super passionate about pets or sport or a television show or something else. But the question is, what does matter to them? What is in common with your target customer? What are they passionate about? Because they're things that you have an impact to have.
So on your sheets, you've got quite a few other things here that you might fill in. Things like their health, how they feel about their health, even things like their spiritual beliefs. All of these things will matter. Now, 2 golden questions I just want to point you to, because these are the 2 most important questions you could ask. These are the questions that will formulate everything you do when you come in contact with them, everything you put on social media, and they are this. First of all, what's keeping them up at night? This essentially means what stresses them out, what bothers them, what frustrates them, what do they worry about? Now, this doesn't mean, to be really clear here, this doesn't mean what problem can you solve for them. This just means what do you know about them that you can resonate with, and how can you show them that you understand? So for example, I have teenagers. There are challenges that come with that. And I know that not one of you in this room can solve that problem. And if you try and solve that problem for me, I'm going to look at you and say, you crazy, what are you doing? But if you come to me and say, Sam, I understand that you've got a daughter who is hormonal. I've been through that. I understand it. I've got a couple of tips I could give you to help you with this. So do you understand the difference between I'm going to solve your problems and I just understand your problems? I get it. I'm going through them, or I've been through them, or I just understand.
Yeah, so we don't need to walk in with a prescription with the answers. The first step is actually just caring, I suppose, connecting or resonating, but just having a little bit of empathy for the challenges that they're going through. It's not about walking in as the expert, and even if you are, that's a little bit like going in for the sell too early. It's not the first time. If I walk up to Jack and I think I understand his problem, and straight away I'm like, this is exactly what you need to, I might be the expert on that topic, who knows? But he doesn't know that. I haven't earned the right. So it's really just starting off by connecting and understanding, and that is understanding what worries them. The next one is, so we've talked a little bit about what's their worries in life. Now we've got to think about what gets them up in the morning, what excites them. Because there's more to a person than just the things that are chopping them down. There's also the things that build them up and create excitement in their life. And so that's something that we really want to understand too. And once again, we don't have to solve it. We don't have to fix anybody. We don't have to bowl in and go, right, this is we're going to go bowling because I know you love it. That's not what we do on our first meeting. But we do care about both those things as we start to understand our customers.
So when I've just put some examples up on the screen here of things that might get them up in the morning, things that they might value. These are common interests and conversations you can have with them. We're going to give you some examples of content shortly that you can create for social media, but I really want to encourage you to use these things to help you date your customers. So dating your customers, and I don't mean go out on dates with them, be very careful, because I don't want you to walk away and say, Sam told me that I'm supposed to date all my customers.
I tried to use it as a defence once and she wouldn't accept it. That's a joke, by the way. Bad
joke. So that was one of the things he said in America, and they thought he was serious. They didn't get the joke. It was sarcasm, and that was the point we went, we have to be really careful about what we say. So dating your customers, meaning this is really important. This is a really critical sales tool, is creating commonality. People subconsciously connect with you when they feel like they have something in common with you. If you know these things, it's so much easier to work out what you have in common, because you can establish, oh, I like cooking too. So what do you start talking about? Something you cooked last week, a recipe you might want to share, something they might be interested in. And suddenly you're building that all-important relationship and you're dating them. When Greg and I first met, we talked about
I should remember, now I'm in trouble. This was a test that I just failed.
We talked about water skiing. I was actually saying what you would say.
No, I'm not falling
We
for
talked
that.
about water skiing because it was something that we both enjoyed. We talked about kids because we both had kids similar ages. You've thought about it now. You came up with something.
We talked about
I
camping.
know, he says.
We did talk about camping.
Yeah. So what do you talk about? Because they're the things that you talk about before you even start to build a relationship, right? You have these conversations to decide if the relationship fits. And then you build on that and you get to the sale down the track. Now, a lot of people say to us, this feels like a really long way a lot of work to go to get a sale. Actually, it's a lot quicker. Because when you look at the big picture, what happens is, first of all, you're building a much bigger long-term successful business because you're establishing quality relationships that last a lifetime. People that will tell everybody about you. But the other thing is that it actually works a lot quicker than churn and burn. And it'll help you feel better about what you do, especially with social media. Can you see how now, because we've not really talked a whole lot about social media in this last little while, but can you see how this is going to help you when you're putting things on social media now to be thinking about these things and really, am I relationship building or am I broadcasting? Remember the marketing role I had. When I first got trained in marketing, it was about telling everyone what they needed to hear to get them to do what I wanted them to do. But this new world we live in is about talking to people and having them respond, and it's social media, it's two-way communication. So we need to treat Facebook and Instagram and any social media platform for that matter as a social platform, not as a broadcasting channel. So I've got important factors here. So just a few things to consider. Just want you to maybe jot these down and think about these. And that is, how do you want your customers to feel? We already mentioned that. Then consider, these are just things to know in the back of your mind. What do you have to offer? What do you have in common with them? And now how do you connect with them? What methods do you use to do those things? And lastly, what do you do with all of this information? So on that sheet I've given you, there's actually a spot for you to name them. And the reason I get you to do this, and Greg does it a different way, but for me, the way that it helps me is every time I go to post something or every time I go to have an interaction, I'll ask myself, how would Wendy like me to do this? What would Wendy be interested in? What picture would Wendy resonate with when I put this post up? What wording should I use that Wendy will care about?
So I just want to jump on that for a second. So if we were to say, Vivian, if we were to say that you represent our target customer absolutely perfectly, when we do something, I've then got to think, okay, I know who Vivian is. I've seen her. She's shared with me what gets her up in the morning, what worries, all those things. I know so much about Vivian. And so it's this question of, is this actually helpful to her? Is this interesting to her? Everything I do, is it relevant? Because if it's over there and she's going, why would I waste my time on that? If I know who my target customer is, then I can test what I'm doing. And the most amazing thing about that is, at the beginning, Sam talked about the algorithm and about letting it do the work for you. Now, this algorithm knows an amazing array of information about people, and it is desperate for content to give them. We don't have to work against it. The algorithm, if there's content that's interesting to me, that's going to keep me on Facebook or keep me on Instagram, the algorithm wants to give it to me. If it's going to repel me from the platform, if it's going to try and sell me or spam me or do things that are going to push me away that it knows I won't like, it's not going to deliver it to me because it's not good for the platform. It's not good for Facebook to push me away, it's good for it to keep me there. So if you can work with that, if you know your target customer and you consistently are thinking about, is this content relevant? And the more that you learn about that, the better that you get at it, then the more the algorithm's just going to do the work for you. It's going to say, I know that person. I'm going to give this straight to them. Well done. And you get so many amazing results from that.
Awesome. So we're going to move into some content now. Does anyone have any questions about Ideal Customer or Tribe or the worksheet in front of you, maybe for Greg, before we move on to the next section? No? Is everyone feeling overwhelmed, like there's so much information? You need more hemo him, right?
Well done. So the main thing is, I understand, we understand that today this might be an introduction to this target customer thing that maybe you haven't heard before. And so it's not about having this perfect picture and having the name on that person right now and knowing every detail about their heart. It's not about understanding them and having every prescription for every problem they have in life. It's just understanding the concept that, hey, the more I go in that direction, the more these tools out here actually help. And then when I connect with a person, the easier it is to have a meaningful, long-term connection with them and actually maybe bring them towards being on my team. Not just taking the product, but actually joining the team. And so this concept is about starting that journey and saying, okay, today I know a little bit about who my target customer might be, but gosh, there's some value in learning a bit more.
Awesome. Okay, I want everyone to stand up and shake it out for a sec because I'm not going to give you a break. We've only got a very short amount of time left and I want to get into what you can be doing. So we're going to get into the practical side now and then we're going to tell you about something very exciting that you all get to be a part of. You all got like the specific stretches. Has anyone got a like specific stretch right now that brings more brain power and wakes everybody up? Yeah, the meditation. There you go. Joy's got it. Star jumps. Right, I'm going to do this. Ready? Actually, this is something I do before I present.
How does it go? Does the flossing?
Is this how you do it? Yeah. They do something else now. I don't know what this is. Do you know the thing where they jump up and down? And I feel, yeah. Yeah, the kids are hilarious with that stuff. All right, grab a seat. All right, let's just quickly talk about productivity because I don't want you spending more time on social media. I want you to get in, do what you need to do and get out and get results. So this comes down to planning. So if you just show up and you post for the sake of it, you are going to waste a lot of time unnecessarily and you're going to get very random results. So we're going to talk to you about really quickly 3 golden activities on social media that are going to help you produce great results. And then we're going to talk about what to put in that. So the first thing is post content that works. So that goes without saying, right? You're going, okay, well, what does that look like? Well, the first thing is track and measure. So look at what worked last week. These are Facebook insights you can see on the screen here. We'll teach you later on more about this because we get to keep working with you. But this is actually showing us, if we look over here, reach, which is just the number of feeds that posts were put on, versus engagement, which shows how many people actually did something with the post and interacted with it. The ones that are getting good interaction tells us, so if we look at this one here, tells us that there's something about this post that people liked. In this case, it was a video. That's one key. The next thing is I created curiosity and intrigue and I made it about a story. It says here, I'm rarely lost for words, but this story left me so lost I couldn't ... So people are like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah.
So curiosity. So that tells me what? It tells me, okay, curiosity important, story telling important, video possibly also important. There are other things here that I can look at and go, okay, this one didn't do so well, or maybe it's because it was only posted yesterday, it hasn't had time yet. So you want to just pay attention to what is working and what's not working. Identify the needs of your ideal customer. We've already talked about that, but think about through those needs, how can you now provide them with value? And then create a post category list ahead of time. So we're going to talk you through this process. I'm actually going to skip past this one because I don't want to give you a heads up on it because we're going to talk about it in a moment. The next really important key, so you've got posting good quality content that gets their attention. The next one is nurturing your customers, which is another way of saying, and probably a more appropriate way of saying, dating your customers. So dating and nurturing the customers. So building the relationship. So a few ways that you can do this. Messages that are personal, not about the product, not about selling. Responding to comments. So when someone comments on your post, it is very important you respond back because they know you paid attention, they know they matter. The other thing is that when you respond to comments, it also helps you learn about them. And where you can, ask another question. If I put that post up, remember the lipstick one? And someone wrote back and said, what is it? And I wrote back and say, it's amazing. What do you use at the moment? All I'm doing is asking another question. Or it might be a question like, would you wear a bright red color like I'm wearing today? I felt pretty bold. So I'm building the relationship, but I'm asking another question. The other thing is like their posts and comments as well. It's two-way. So make sure that you're making it about them as much as it is about you. So looking at social media strategy, I just want to throw out there as well to consider when you're using, if you're using Facebook, what is your key objective? What I mean by this is, what do you want to get out of your social media? Are you wanting to meet new people? Do you want to educate people? Do you want to make more sales? Do you want to build your team? Do you want to build community? Do you want to nurture? What is it that you actually are looking to achieve? So what is your key objective? Now, there are no right or wrong answers. It could be all of these things or something else. But aside from how do you want them to feel, also consider what you want to get out of it. Because again, when you're posting things and you ask yourself, okay, I just posted a selfie of my good hair day, and you go back and you go, okay, well, my key here is actually to build community. Did my selfie of my good hair day build community, or was it a strategy to help me do that? So you're better off thinking about the strategy first and then how you're going to achieve that, so that you're not tempted to throw things up that maybe take you backwards. I've seen a lot of people, selfies are a really good example of this. I've seen a lot of people post selfies that are actually detrimental, because not only do they not relate to their audience, they actually send a different message. So keeping in mind, what is it that you want to do? The next thing that's really important here is mixing up your content. So I want to give you some post ideas now, and I want to encourage you of this one key thing, and that is to create a recipe. So what I mean by this is, for each and every one of you, you have a different tribe, a different ideal customer. You all have a different personality, which means that your social media strategy, which is your recipe, is going to look different to the next person's. If anybody ever says to you, I've worked out exactly how to use social media, I've worked out what works for me, do what I'm doing, you should have red flags going up straight away, because that person has worked out their recipe. It may not, probably won't work for you, because it's their personality, it's their tribe, not yours. This is one of the biggest things we see go wrong in this industry, because so many people are preaching their own formula, and it's not yours. So I want you to start to think about, what does your recipe look like? What does your formula look like? Now, your recipe will obviously contain different ingredients in different amounts, applied at different times using different methods, just like a normal recipe would. Things like selling are the sprinkles on top or the salt in the cake. You don't use very much. We like to talk about the 80-20 rule, which Greg and I have changed. It's the 90-10 rule, or I think it's now the 99-1 rule. And that is, if you listen to us, we'll say 1% of your content should be selling. If you do the 99% right. So 99% of your content should be engaging, informative, interesting, and entertaining to your tribe. When you get that right, you earn the right to do 1% of selling. Selling being, here's my product, here's my business, book with me, buy from me, that sort of thing. It doesn't mean that you can't sell though, because we can sell without selling by sharing our story. So I want to give you some ideas of types of content that you can create to help you with this process. So the very first of these is relatable human content. Now, I created some fun little photographs and bits and pieces to show you how to incorporate your products with story, but also relating to your tribe. Now, each of these posts, consider what I know about my audience. This is what I call a deconstructed child. My 9-year-old son came running into me one day. Mum, 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 I'm so excited. Come and look at what I did. I laid my clothes out like you're always asking me to. And he's laid them out like a perfect little human with underwear on top, just so I knew he was wearing them. Beanie, everything. Like this, he laid it out exactly how he was planning to wear it. Now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, this has nothing to do with what we do for business. Yeah. It's not about our products, it's not about our courses. But our audience, if you remember me saying, who in this room is a parent? Who's a parent here? So most of our audience are parents of either kids or fur babies. So they understand and they resonate when I share a little behind the scenes story with human element that makes me human about my family life. But I use it to ask a question. Do you or your kids have any funny quirks, cute ways that they pronounce words? And so I'm using it to not only help you get to know me, but for me to get to know you. The one up here, this is what we call a boomerang. And a boomerang is a clever way of incorporating video. Again, this is Levi, and he loves seaweed. Loves it. I, again, had to hide it. And so I put a post up just simply sharing it's his new favourite school snack. So all it's doing is it's helping people get to know me, but it's creating curiosity. Where did I get that from? You know, maybe I could share something unique about it that people will go, oh, that's not like the one I normally buy at the supermarket. So creating curiosity whilst incorporating human element. The next one is using video. Facebook and Instagram favour video content. Now, I said to you before, you've got such amazing packaging, so incorporate your unboxing, your packaging into some of your video. You may not be able to video consuming some of the products, but you certainly can video unboxing them or how you create something or make them. Here's another little example of video. Unboxing, and it's as simple as unbox it. We're going to give you a how-to video as well. Again, Curiosity and Intrigue will talk to you about this afterwards. There is a little bit of audio with this too, which I think actually adds to the curiosity and intrigue because you can kind of hear the opening of things. And you know, I made the video and I was watching it going, oh, what's in it? Because people don't necessarily know how it appears, how they get it, what it is. Now these here, you actually could use them on your skin if you wanted to because there's no TGA listing on these products. The sunscreen's the only one that you can't. Okay, so I could have, you know, I could do this on my face and this would be another great way to incorporate video. I think I did a little one as well with the Hemohim. Which was another way of, with this one, you won't be able to consume it when it becomes TGA listed in the video, but I took it as far as I could. But what you could do is you could pour it into a glass. So if you're showing people how to take it, if they're gonna put it with honey, I know some of you put it with honey, so you could mix it, just don't drink it. Take it as far as you can. So you've seen the sunscreen one. So behind the scenes in your story. Now I wanted to share an example. You want to be very careful with claims. So a claim, for example, is with the honey. You cannot say this will help colds, this will build your immunity, but you can suggest through what the ingredients are and the properties of those ingredients. Or you can do something I did just here, which is I shared a behind the scenes in my story. It says, this week our poor little Zara has been out sick. Great news is she's loving my mum's old Lemsip recipe, and today she asked what my secret ingredient is that makes it so delicious. I'm using my favourite Manuka honey. It's soothing, warming, and so tasty. Now, this is compliant, but the other thing about it is I've incorporated, this is what we call a human element, a hand. I just want to really quickly mention, when you take photographs, try everywhere you can to incorporate a human element. It may be a hand, it could be a foot, it could be a face, it could be just the back of someone's head. It doesn't have to be your face all the time, but the reason is that when you incorporate a human element, the subconscious brain relates to the image much faster. So it actually puts us potentially in the story. We can see ourselves there. So human element like a hand, even though you think, oh no, but it's styled much nicer if I just take a photo of the product, that people don't relate to that in the same way. And it's, remember, you're building the relationship with them, you're nurturing them, so you want to see what you do and how you do it. Another really clever ingredient in your potential recipe, and I want you to be writing down ideas for your recipe right now. Possible ingredients. What could be in my recipe? It's not what will be, it's what are you going to test and trial and play with. Text only is another really great way to do this because it breaks up the social content. And my favourite type of text only is engagement posts. Engagement posts are where you ask a question where you're inviting interaction. Now, this one is really important because this helps us with those tribe questions. If you're wondering, I don't really know if my ideal customer has pets or not, or I know they have pets, but I don't know what sort of pets they prefer, why not ask the question, cats or dogs? They're going to interact. It's a fairly controversial question. People are pretty opinionated about that. And when they respond, you then get to build a relationship. Hi, Jack. Jack says, I like dogs. I write back, do you have a dog, Jack? And he goes, I do. What sort of dog, Jack? And now we're building a relationship.
Sam, I just want to come back and join you for a minute because I know that over the last few hours we've covered an array of content, some really interesting stuff. And I know we've only got about 4 minutes left before we wind up, so we'll give it back to you in just a second. But I wanted to take the opportunity while we're talking about content, I know this is something that we like to really focus on, to send you away with some stuff you can do, some stuff that actually works in our industry. Because it is wonderful to sit here and tell you the foundations and talk about this algorithm that can do the work for you. It's really powerful that you now understand that that's there. And it's really cool to know about a target customer and to say, actually, I don't have to chase the world. I get to narrow down and work with people that actually want to work with me, and it actually gets easier and better when we do that. And so we've touched on some content here at the moment. Sam, do you want to talk about the other thing that we're doing in the couple minutes?
I'm doing that right now.
Well, I'll switch it back to you.
Yeah. This is him going,
Hurry up, honey.
I could do a whole day with you and still have stuff to talk about. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to have some fun with you, and I want you to put into practice today some of what we've learned. So I happen to have a Benro. Would you mind getting it out, please,
Sure.
Greg? It's in that bag. You will have to flatten it first because things will go poof everywhere. So what I want you to do is create a post today, preferably while you're at lunch so we can draw our winner before we leave. Take a photograph of a product you have with you and find a way to post it that is sharing a little piece of story that's compliant. It could be any which way you want to do it. Here are a couple of ways you could do it. So a piece of your story, it could be your biggest takeaway or learning today. You could just take a photograph. Actually, Greg, we should take a selfie of us with these guys. Are you doing that now?
Sure.
Oh, with the Benro, okay.
So I've got one in the box. And
Yeah, so
one
this is
set
what
up.
we're going to give away as a prize. We've got one of these tripods, which are my favourite tool for taking photographs and videos, etc.
Oh, that's nice.
So Greg, we should take a selfie. This is called Benro. So we're going to gift one of these to somebody who puts a post up today with the hashtag #GrowWithOksano, just so we can find it. And I'd like you to just use one of these topics here to create your post. Okay? So Greg, we should turn around and take a little selfie with these
I
guys.
haven't got the shutter.
You what?
I haven't got the shutter.
That doesn't matter.
All right.
Do you want me to show you how to do a timed photo? We just hold it. You've got long arms. All right, you all ready to get in a photo? Can we have a photo with you all?
Yep.
Leave the room now if you have a problem. I know you won't.
Cover your face.
Yeah, or hide your face, cover your face. We'll have like one person in there that's...
Grab what you want, grab.
I'll teach you lessons later. That's okay. Here, all right, so are you going to come in?
Yes.
Yes. All right, you guys ready? All right.
I'll get it.
Ready? All right, hands in the air. Quick, we'll do a crazy one. You ready? Go. Love it.
Awesome.
All right. So what I want you to do is take a photograph of a product or you or something that we've shared from today. Share this and we're going to do a little prize. Now, who would like some help to keep going with everything that they've learned today? Do you feel like you would like a little bit more support from us to help you with this process? Okay. Well, your amazing head office have organised with us to run for you something that we call, it's our Pinnacle program, and it's called our 14-day done for you post challenge. So what we're actually going to be doing with you all is we're going to be working with you over 2 weeks, starting on the 1st of August. We're going to kick it off with, and it's all online, we're going to kick it off with an online training. And then what we're going to do is every day for 14 days, we're going to teach you one ingredient, one post strategy, and you're actually going to do it every day. So the great news is we're going to hold your hand and walk you through the process, and over this time you're going to learn 14 different posting strategies that you can use on Facebook and or Instagram. So what these are going to do is a number of different things, including all of this. So we're going to show you how to generate leads, how to engage your audience, how to share your story, how to be human, and how to be consistent. The most important thing I just want to say very quickly to this whole process is you must participate, because you will only get out of this process what you put in. With your team, your head office team, we have put in huge amounts of work to build this exclusively for you. So every day we've created content strategies built for your product, for your business. And we're going to work with you all the way through that. It will all be done online. And so how you participate is you simply join a Facebook group that is private to you. So Greg, have we actually got that? So I think
Leo's got the link ready to distribute. Now, one of the main things that we need to know about this, we just need around about 10 minutes each day. Now, each day for the 14 days, we need you to join in and actually participate and do the challenge for that 10 minutes. At the end, we're going to teach you how to use those methods, those strategies, and those posts again and again, and to schedule it so you can sit down and do that once a week. So you don't have to be at the mercy of social media and going, what am I going to post every day? That's actually there and done for you so that you can carry this forward and do it again and again. Now,
So-
one other question I have, Sam,
Yes.
is it just for the people in the room, or are they welcome to invite their teams to join? It is open
Everyone.
for everybody.
Yep.
So I just want to talk about that for just a sec, because I know I have to hurry. We can help you. The information that you've got today, if that's shared out with your team, and even if there's people interested in going, how could I be part of a business, but I don't want to hound or hassle people, how could I do it? If you've got people on your team, this is a great opportunity to bring them on board and actually get what you've got today and turn it into practical steps of exactly what you do. Because we haven't spent long today on the how you have to do it, because we've got this 14-day coming up for you to show that stuff.
Okay. So does anyone have anyone that they're thinking of that they're like, I wish that they could be learning some of this stuff right now? Okay, so invite them in, get them to be a part of this, and please tell them to participate. So allow the time every day for the 14 days, just 10 minutes a day, in your calendar from the 1st of August, and we're going to work with you all on this. Now, I will tell you as well, although I shouldn't need to, that we are going to bribe you. So we've got prizes every single day.
We're
for
going to
those that
reward you for
participate.
participating.
Yeah.
We're going to, and it's not about who does the best. That's
You can
why
listen to his version or my version. It's
It's
bribery or it's
usually me
rewarding.
that talks about the bribery. So we are rewarding people for participating, and it is not about the best. We don't care about your best. You're welcome to try things and make mistakes, and we can guide, and we're going to be quite gentle when people do that. Because what happens is we want you to learn these things and to try them and to gain these strategies under your belt. And that's best done. We've done this with tens of thousands of people. It's best done in a safe space where you can try things and get some really kind and gentle feedback to show you what's actually going to work.
Yeah. Now this kickoff training will go for 1 hour. So just allocate 1 hour for the 1 p.m. on Monday the 1st of August. And then after that it'll be 10 minutes a day. So this is where we're going to teach you what you need to know about the challenge and how to participate in the challenge. And we're going to talk to you about a really fun analogy involving animals. It's very fun. Now your head office have provided a heap of prizes that we're going to be awarding you, and we have also contributed a heap of prizes. So we've got a huge amount of giveaways. So every day you participate, you're in the running to win a prize. So if that's not enough, you're obviously going to get a lot out of this as well. So are you all excited to take part?
Yes.
Great. So Leo, how will you get them the link to that group? Will we send that out through?
So I've got the link from Greg.
Great.
We'll make our announcements
Yep.
on our platforms.
Great.
Perfect.
All right, so as soon as you see that, you need to join the group. Please answer the group questions because that's going to help your head office get you in there quickly. And once you're in there, make sure that you are looking at it each day, even in the lead up to the challenge, so that we can get to know you, you can get to know us, and we're going to we've already put in there 2 bonus trainings on how to set up a Facebook personal profile and how to set up a Facebook business page to get you going. So if you don't have those set up yet, go in there and watch those videos and they're going to get you kicked off ready for the
So
challenge.
we'll cover all of that off in the group. The 2 things that I wanted to just mention is we will be around for a little while if you'd like to catch up with us and ask questions on your break. And the other thing was the hashtag to win the prize, Sam. So maybe if
Yes.
you can pop that up on the screen. Is that possible? So what
Yes.
do people need to do again to win that prize from today?
So they need to put a post up on Facebook, or you can do Instagram if you want to. And then if you just put in the hashtag with the post, so after you've written your post, your caption, just put hashtag Grow with Oksano. If, however, you're doing this on a personal profile, you might need to try tagging our business page in, or just come and show us in the next hour so we can see it, only because if we're not your friend, we won't see your post, okay? But I do want you to all have a business page set up before we kick off the challenge, because we will be doing the challenge on a Facebook business page. So we'll show you how to set that up if you don't have it set up, but just know you'll need to get that ready.
Awesome.
Great. Greg, you're in the way.
Me, no.
A page was amazing something.
What did you want?
Forward or back?
Forward.
What was it about?
Yeah, that. Yes.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, this one.
The testimony. This one is a testimony, not an endorsement. Beautiful. All right, well, thank you, everybody. We really appreciate being able to have this time with you. I hope did you all get something out of the session? Yes. Great. And I look forward to seeing you all inside of the 14-day challenge and working with you for a couple of weeks.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you.